and just kind of see what we can, if we can learn anything from the tape about Lucas and what he's all about. So you see number 91 lined up here. And the first thing you see is against a tight end, he tries to takes the inside bait a little bit on this counter play. Go back a little bit. So they got the tight end of the wing. They're going to end up running a counter here. He probably thinks he's on the back side because the back is near to him. So he swoops underneath. But what we don't want to see is you got to be able to get off these blocks. And he's going to end up getting pancaked on this on the other side of the field. And that's just something that as you get better, you get more aware, become more comfortable. It's not just about having a stiff arm power. It's about being slippery. It's about being unblockable. What other ways can we just turn our shoulders, turn our hips, make it very, very difficult to block? And if they do get their hands on us, how do we get them off? Inside versus the guard here, tipping his stance. Obviously, he's head up, or we call that a two technique. You see that right foot, it's back, it's staggered, it's light, which means inevitably he's probably going into that A gap. But he does this he's very quick off the line, especially when he's in 3-point. So they're running a little TT game here. He gets blocked off pretty easily. So he goes into his power move. Obviously, they had a good play on the backside there with the blitz from the slot. I like this play. He sees that the tackle is leaving. He sees by the stance, by where the head placement is. So he does an excellent job just having awareness, watching film, transferring film to the practice field, or excuse me, to the game field, which is something that is imperative in the National Football League. Can you learn something on tape and apply the lesson directly to the field of play? Does a great job here at beating the backside tight end on the tackle pull, gets in the backfield, ends up just making the play, easy money. Those are the kind of plays that you are going to see a lot in the National Football League. You see a lot of tackle pulls now. You see a lot of tight ends having to insert. A lot of times they'll bring that tight end and just kind of orbit him back so he can come from the B gap out. But if you stay, we'll see a little bit later, if you're able to stay compact, he is a phenomenal athlete from a leverage, being able to play skinny and accelerate standpoint. When he can take the tape information and apply it by reading his external cues pre-snap, very, very dangerous player. We see her lined up in a 4 technique versus Skoronski. Just gets thrown down on the keep pass. Not a big deal at all. It's bound to happen. So I love this play. So you go from a wider position where the tackle has already kind of got his footwork set as from his stance. You come in and play a tight 5, okay? And now you get in this position here where even though he gets his hand snatched, we'll talk about that in a minute, he's quick enough because he runs that 4.59. He's quick enough to turn the shoulders from that tight 5. So in other words, if that tackle's footwork isn't correct, if he kind of just spaces out his footwork and gets a little bit wide, that tackle's never going to open up here. Now he has to learn to be a little bit better with his hands and not play so far over his shoulders that he can get knocked back like this as far as knocking his hands down. What Van Ness does a good job of, despite Skoronski being able to play with his hands all day here, he does more often than not end up staying upright, not falling on the ground. A lot of guys, if you get your hand snatched, you just fall on the ground. He does a good job of getting back into the body and trying to get some push here. Now, Skoronski's, as far as ready-made NFL lineman, he's probably the cream of the crop last year. So you're going to see some things on this tape where you go, he's playing against an NFL caliber player right now. See the wide set. Now, this is the one where you say you're trying to learn how to do a spin move. Fair enough. Right here, it's okay to try different moves, right? And maybe if this move worked like 100 times in practice, maybe you give it a go. But you can see his timing's way off. When you line up wide and you're a power rusher and you take away the thing that you're good at, to me, it's a wasted rep. And you could say here, well, the quarterback flushed and ran. Okay. But you look at Skoronski, who is, again, a premier player in this, in not only in the Big Ten, but also in college football. His body position right here is one that he's back. He's upright. He's leaning backwards. His hands are out outside his body. Van Ness could come right through and absolutely murder because he's coming from width. So Skronsky thinks he has to get back. He's on his heels. Okay. He's not really good at deep setting. You can tell right here. Get back, put that two-hand bull on, and now you can work an angle, you can work an armpit, you can allow yourself to be successful. And when he tries to recover with his wide feet, now you pick a side. But if you're just going to go in and do this, you're doing the tackle a favor because you're a little bit out of control. See outside here on the screen, you see Skronsky's again batting his hand down. He's on the left side of the screen here. Skronsky's really good at playing with hands. So Van Ness a lot of times tries to do that one arm, two arm stab. So one of the things he's going to have to learn is you have to be able to show that stab and counter immediately, or you're going to have to be able to work something off it because too often he gets down like this. And because he's a good athlete, he kind of gets into the hip and he can maybe bull into the pocket. But as far as like a sustainable technique that you want to use, like you don't want to go and if your D-line coach says, "Hey, what's your best pass rush move?" It's like, well, I like to stab the guy, and if he knocks my hand down, I just try to not stay off the ground and bull him into the quarterback. It's effective, or it can be effective, but I don't know if that's what necessarily what we're going for, right? You're gonna have to try to plan some counter moves off this a little bit. I know this is a screen game. You're on the tight end. So what you like to see here is you have to dominate this blocker every time. And he tries to rip inside, but unfortunately, he just doesn't really gain any ground. So you either need to take that edge, you need to take that inside gap, or you need to be able to press extend with your hands, which you're usually really good at. You see it over against 72 right here in the left defensive end on the right side of our screen, pressing and extending, reading, which he does do a good job of at times. But when you try to rip inside like this and you're high and you're late, you can get pinned by a player who's not nearly as good as you are. Now, I love this play. Triple play here. He's going to two-hand press Skronsky as he exits down. He's going to, you see the split flow action with 88. He's going to go underneath the split flow, and he's going to make the play. If you're scouting this guy and you want him to be great, if you're scouting this guy and you're just going, I need this guy to hit, I want to pick him at 13, you're probably showing this play more than a handful of times to the guys in the room. Presses, gets underneath, and makes the tackle. It's a phenomenal play. I'm going to show it one more time. Presses, gets underneath, makes the play. It's a phenomenal play. Now, can 88 do better? Hey, that's the game. You can't. It's never your fault if the guy across from you isn't doing his job. That's his problem. All you can do is your job. He did a great job right there. See him against Skronsky again here. Just a quick jump set because they're running a quick screen. You're going to see this on both sides. One thing you have to work on, you have to get a lot better at, is understanding the intention from the stance. I highlighted the awareness when the guy was going backside. But now, if you're going to get short set, for example, you have to have an answer to getting short set, whether it's going inside, whether it's attacking the outside upfield arm. You have to have an answer. You can't end up in this position. He ends up in this position too much in this game, more so from the right tackle than the left. Okay. Against Skronsky again, stand up 2-point play here, run play. For fans out there who see this and they go, "Oh man, that was a great job. He just, overran it or whatever." This is a bad play by defensive ends in the National Football League. You see all the time. They think that they're doing something here because they dive, they dip their shoulder, and they get upfield. Look at the space. And this happens. Every single player, stand-up 2-point guy, does this. You look at like the NFC South, the Tennessee Titans. Last year, they do this all the time. It's crazy. And you just open this wide space. And maybe it's the inevitability that they're going to run an understand play action pass from that same formation sometimes. So the defensive end's like, I'm just going to take a chance that I'm right here and then go sack the quarterback. But this is a bad position to leave the rest of your defense on. And this ends up being a big play, or a nice play at least, for Northwestern. Little 3-point. I like him a lot more out of 3-point than out of 2. We talked about that already. I think he just plays with much better leverage. Slips here, but you see again, he's getting that full lean. And this is reps. This is reps and getting better at your craft. you get into that lean in and try to press out. If you have a tackle that's good with that inside hand, you got to find some options here because you're going to end up in bad situations more often than not. Not like that quarterback. That was terrible. Okay, we see the short set here. All right. And the short set just ends up in a bull every time. And if you're like, when I was playing, if I know that if I can short set you and you're just going to bull me every time, I'm going to short set you every single play, right? Because that is basically taking away all of your options. If I can engage you with two hands at the line of scrimmage and you're not going to make me pay for it, I'm just going to keep doing it. Great job shedding inside, so he wins. You can't see the whole play. He wins on the tight end. Tackle leaves because he plays outside leverage on the tight end and swims inside, makes the tackle here. Phenomenal play taken down against a guy, a tight end, same tight end he beat on the split flow. Great job here. Great technique. Again, we see the short set, and you're in this position where you look at this, you go, man, he's in a great position right here. But that tackle, this is exactly what he doesn't care. He's probably trying to grab him with hands outside, right? Because all he's trying to do is get a 275-pound guy. This tackle's probably rolling around 320. He's probably saying, oh, a 275-pound guy wants to try to bull rush me from the line of scrimmage. Love it. Do more of it. You know, like Rashawn Gary. You want Rashawn Gary to do this. If you could promise a right tackle that Rashawn Gary, as good as he is, was going to bull rush you from the line of scrimmage every play, they would take that. They would literally pay you money to guarantee that. Okay, so this is something that you have to be able to read the stance, read the intentions, know the history, and be able to work angles so that he can't just go. If you go right down the middle on a player that's 50 pounds more than you, it's just too easy to stop your pull. You have to have momentum. At 275, as good an athlete as you are, you got to have some momentum in order to get that bull. In other words, you can't bull for 7.5 yards. You got to be able to bull for 3.5, 4 tops. Got a little bit wider player here. Got the wing. Now, once you get to this position, now it's interesting, right? Because now you're shoulder on shoulder. And if you've ever heard any, for fans out there or for people that are trying to learn how to pass rush or pass block, you always hear good defensive line coaches talk about, hey, listen, before we make our move, we're going to attack elbows, attack armpits, and smell their breath. Okay. We want to get close to you. We want to be shoulder pad on shoulder pad because now we can flip our hips and use our athleticism. So the right tackle's in the worst position he can be because he's not extended. You look at the left tackle right here, as opposed to arms extended. Okay, body's away. You have recovery. You have built-in recovery time. Right tackle has no more recovery time. He flips his hips. He's on the quarterback. And I think he does here. Flips, get around, just misses him, ends up getting in the play. We talked about this before because of his aggression, which you like. You like the stab, you like the hand placement inside, but you're playing against a guy who's got really good inside hand work. You have to get your hips underneath you because you can't keep getting knocked down and batted and driven into the ground or driven with your head down. You got to bring your hips with you on these plays. You got to go a little bit better low to high because when you're just placing and trying to orbit around with your feet, you get that knocked down. It's very easy for Skoronski to take that inside hand, knock it down, and then just glove him up. That was a really nice play by the honestly, that was a really nice play by the quarterback. What are you going to do?